Friday, March 24th, 1993. Montgomery Falls, Oregon, a quiet town surrounded by endless pine woods and a river that always seems to whisper when the wind blows through it. It had been raining for 3 days straight. The streets glistened like black glass, reflecting neon lights and red taillights from the few cars that still roamed this late at night. Emily Harper, a 20-year-old college student, finished her shift at the local supermarket, Green Mart. She folded the day's receipts, tucked them into her purse, and smiled to her coworker. "See you tomorrow," she said. Those were her last known words. The next morning, her Chevrolet Nova was found abandoned on the side of Hilltop Road, just before the turn into the forest. The headlights were still on, the engine warm, rain dripping from the hood. Her purse was on the seat. One of her shoes lay in the mud. Police officers combed the roadside, their flashlights slicing through the fog. They found footprints, one set smaller, bare, and another set heavier, boot-shaped, leading into the woods. Then, nothing. The trail vanished where the mud turned to pine needles. Sergeant Ray Miller, a tired man with 20 years on the force, stood staring at the tree line. He muttered to his partner, "If she went in there, she's not coming back." By sunrise, Montgomery Falls had changed. The town that used to hum with coffee shops and morning chatter was now silent, like the world was holding its breath. Local radio repeated the same message every hour. "Police are asking for assistance in locating 20-year-old Emily Harper, last seen leaving the Green Mart parking lot." Outside the store, someone built a makeshift memorial. Candles, photos, a stuffed bear soaked by the rain. Neighbors whispered through thin apartment walls. "She never hurt anyone. Why her? She was studying nursing, for God's sake. She was too trusting." Detective Miller sat in his car that night, watching the rain bead across the windshield. The police report on his dashboard was already smeared with coffee stains. 4 missing women in 3 years, all in their early 20s, all on a Saturday night, all within a 40-mile radius. Different counties, different departments. Nobody had connected the dots, until now. He took a long drag from his cigarette, exhaled into the dark, and whispered to himself, "He's hunting them, and we've been too blind to see it." 2 weeks later, a hunter found something in the woods 10 miles north of town. He thought it was an animal at first. The smell hit him before he saw it. Emily Harper's body was discovered beneath a fallen pine, her hands bound with coarse rope, her eyes covered with duct tape. There were no signs of sexual assault. No wallet. No fingerprints. Just silence. The autopsy revealed bruises on her wrists, ligature marks on her ankles, and traces of chloroform in her system. Detective Miller stood in the coroner's office, staring at her pale face. "He didn't kill her fast," the coroner said quietly. Miller didn't answer. He just looked down at the file and noticed something odd. On her shoulder, under the dried blood, was a small, deliberate cross carved into the skin. April 1994. Another girl. Same age. Same day of the week. Same missing person pattern. By now, the FBI had joined the investigation. Agent Laura Chin, 33, sharp-eyed and clinical, met with Miller in a small diner outside town. "You've got a serial offender," she said flatly. "Organized type. Keeps trophies. Possibly religious delusion. The cross mark is symbolic." "He's local," Miller replied. "Knows the terrain too well to be passing through." They built a timeline, Each victim had been last seen near a highway exit or a rest stop. Always Saturday. Always between 9 p.m. and midnight. Each body found near water, rivers, lakes, swamps. The media started calling him the preacher. Fear became routine. Women stopped going out after dark. Stores closed early. Children were told not to talk to anyone driving a van. Local TV ran interviews every night. Mothers crying. Police sketches. One blurry image caught from a gas station camera. An old white Ford Econoline with rusted doors. License plate unreadable. Miller's wife begged him to take a break. He started sleeping in his office instead. He'd wake up at 3 a.m. to the hum of the vending machine, staring at case photos pinned on the wall, young faces staring back at him. 4, 5, 6 of them. "He's mocking us," Miller muttered one night. "He knows we'll never catch him if we keep following the rules." June 1995. A woman stumbled into a rural gas station, barefoot, bleeding, shaking uncontrollably. Her name was Samantha Lowe, 24. She said she'd been taken from a bus stop 2 nights earlier. The man told her he was saving her, that the Lord speaks through silence. He wore gloves, a mechanic's jumpsuit, and always hummed an old hymn before he did anything. She escaped by jumping from his moving van near the forest line. Samantha's description gave them their first solid lead. A white male, mid-40s, pale skin, long hair tied back, missing 2 fingers on his left hand. A faded tattoo of a cross on his forearm. No accent. Calm voice. She remembered one more thing. He kept saying Hilltop Road. Over and over. Like a prayer. Detective Miller spent weeks tracing every registered Ford van within 100 miles. They narrowed it down to 3. One belonged to Joseph Creed, a former church janitor fired in 1989 for inappropriate behavior. He lived alone in a cabin on Hilltop Road. When the police arrived, the house was empty. Inside, they found ropes, duct tape, old hymn cassettes, and photographs. Dozens of Polaroids, all of women. Some smiling, some terrified, some unconscious. Each labeled with a date and a verse number from the Bible. In the basement, a wooden chair bolted to the floor. A small tape recorder still running, repeating on loop. "And silence shall be your offering." An all-state manhunt began. Roadblocks, helicopters, dogs. But Creed knew the woods. He grew up there. For weeks he vanished, like a ghost. Until one morning, a hiker spotted smoke rising from an old hunting cabin 20 miles east. When officers broke in, they found blood on the walls and a single fresh photo on the table. It was Miller's wife. The phone rang at the station that night. Miller answered. "Detective," a calm voice said. "You've been looking for me. I'm right where she was." Click. Miller drove alone, ignoring backup. The forest swallowed his headlights as he reached the clearing where Emily Harper's car was found 5 years earlier. Rain started again, just like that night. Inside an abandoned shack, he found his wife tied to a chair, alive but barely breathing. Creed was there too, standing behind her, smiling faintly. "You took her from me," Miller said, gun trembling. "No," Creed whispered. "I only showed her silence." He raised a knife, and Miller fired. One shot. Then another. Creed fell back into the mud, eyes open, still smiling. Miller carried his wife out into the rain. She survived, but never spoke again. The doctors called it traumatic mutism. The case was closed. Newspapers printed, "The preacher dead." But Miller couldn't sleep. Something about the photographs haunted him. There were 18 labeled with Bible verses, but only 17 victims in the reports. Who was the 18th? In 1998, construction workers digging near the old Hilltop Chapel unearthed a shallow grave. Inside, a teenage girl, long deceased. A rusted locket around her neck engraved with the initials JC. DNA confirmed it. Joseph Creed's younger sister, missing since 1973. The town realized the truth. He had been saving women because he couldn't save his sister. He recreated her death again and again, seeking forgiveness that never came. Years passed. The woods grew back. The road dried up. But on rainy nights, locals say they still hear humming near Hilltop Road, an old church hymn echoing through the trees. Sergeant Ray Miller retired in 2002. His wife died quietly the same winter. At her funeral, a young detective placed a fresh evidence photo on his desk, a recent one. A new missing girl. Same age. Same night. A white van seen leaving the area. Miller stared at the picture, hands shaking. Then he whispered, "We buried the wrong man." The tape recorder on the shelf clicked once, and played, just for a second. "And silence shall be your offering." It started with a 911 call. A trembling woman's voice whispered through static, "He's in the house." Then silence. Police traced the call to a farmhouse just outside the small town of Eureka Springs, Arkansas. Deputy Thomas Ray arrived at 2:47 a.m. The place was pitch black, except for the weak porch light flickering in the wind. The front door was open. The phone line had been cut. Inside, the house was cold, filled with that sweet, metallic smell that only means one thing. The house belonged to the Langfords, a young couple, Mark and Jenny, and their 8-year-old son, Kyle. They had moved there just 6 months earlier, escaping city life after Mark inherited the land from his late uncle. They wanted peace. They found something else. Neighbors said the Langfords kept to themselves. Jenny was friendly, often seen at the farmer's market. Mark fixed old cars in the barn out back. Kyle rode his bike along the creek road every evening. Then, 1 week before the 911 call, something changed. Jenny stopped answering the phone. Mail piled up on the porch. A delivery driver swore he saw someone watching him from the upstairs window, someone not Mark. When Deputy Ray entered the kitchen, the clock on the wall had stopped at 2:42. Dishes still sat on the table. A half-empty glass of milk. A family photo pinned to the fridge, faces smiling under summer light. In the hallway, dragged marks on the wooden floor. In the master bedroom, sheets torn, a broken lamp. But no bodies. Then he noticed something carved into the doorframe. "He comes when you sleep." Out back, near the barn, he found a small trapdoor under a pile of hay. He opened it, and the smell hit him first. Below the barn was a narrow concrete room, half flooded, filled with rusted tools and animal bones. And in the corner, a child's shoe. A flashlight beam caught something on the wall, Polaroids, dozens of them, pinned in crooked rows. Each showed people asleep in their beds. Different faces. Different houses. All taken from the same angle, through a window. Then Deputy Ray found the newest photo. It was of Jenny Langford, asleep beside her husband. The photo was dated 2 nights before the 911 call. The next day, investigators canvassed the area. They spoke with Samuel Lee, a retired mail carrier who lived down the road. He said the Langford's uncle, the one who left them the house, had been a strange man, always building things underground. Samuel muttered. Said he heard voices from the creek. Said the water told him to watch. In the old county records, they found reports from the 1980s, missing campers, hunters, kids, all last seen near Miller's Creek. No one ever found their bodies. That night, investigators sealed the property. But at 3 a.m., the motion sensor in the barn went off. When deputies arrived, the trapdoor was open again. They descended slowly. Footprints in the mud fresh. Something scurried in the dark, fast and close to the ground. The generator light flickered. For a split second, they saw him. A tall, pale man with long gray hair, crouched in the corner, holding an old camera to his face. One deputy shouted, fired a shot. But when they reached the corner, he was gone. Only the camera remained. Inside was a roll of undeveloped film. The film contained 23 photos, all taken in the past week. Each one showing the same family, the Langfords, asleep, eating, playing with their son. The final photo was different. It showed the dining table, empty chairs, and a shadow standing behind the camera. Forensics later found partial fingerprints on the film, belonging to Harold Langford, Mark's deceased uncle. He'd been declared missing in 1989. His remains were never recovered. 3 nights later, the Langford house burned to the ground. No one was inside. Locals said they saw lights in the windows just before the fire, like flashbulbs. The case was closed as an electrical accident. Deputy Ray quit the force 2 weeks later. He said he couldn't sleep anymore. He started waking up to the sound of a camera shutter when no one else was in the room. In 2011, a construction crew clearing the land near Miller's Creek found a buried metal box. Inside, a dozen old Polaroids sealed in plastic. The last one stopped everyone cold. It showed a man sleeping on a couch, a badge glinting on his chest. It was Deputy Thomas Ray. The timestamp? 2 weeks before his death, listed as a self-inflicted gunshot. Locals say on quiet nights by the creek, you can still hear it. The faint click of a camera, and the whisper of water saying, "He comes when you sleep."